And hello, everybody. Welcome to Common Censored, right? Is that what it's called?
Yep. It's not his birthday, so I'm not going to sing.
Every Friday, Eleanor Goldfield joins me for an amazing live stream / podcast called Common Censored.
I could do a very merry on birthday. Very merry on birthday to you. From Alice in Wonderland.
I have no idea what just happened. Okay, so I know this is going to shock everybody. I know this is going to floor you, but we have a bunch of important stories for you today. We decided to switch things up and cover important things this time.
I think one Friday we should just say fuck it and do like story time and just read.
And just do the stories about what kind of purse, like
no, like
Kim
a nice
Kardashian
story time. Like we can read, we can read from like an Ursula K. Le Guin book or something. A nice story time.
Again, I'm not sure what's happening here, but thank you for joining us.
No, I have ideas here. I'm fucking brainstorming. Jesus.
I think you're a little drunker than usual.
What happened? What happened to the yes and? Did you take improv classes?
I didn't. I literally don't understand what you're saying. I
moments.
can't yes and something I don't understand.
You've never heard of Ursula K. Le Guin?
The more you say it, the more I'll
people, back me up on this. Is that
Alice in Wonderland?
Is that just not okay for him to not have heard of fucking Ursula K. Le Guin? Good Lord.
Speaking of how Reuters is creating a coup factory, welcome everybody. Please click thumbs up, click share, click all those good things, and thanks for joining us for the next hour. All right, so I wanted to start off with, by the way, we do have good stories coming up as well, but I want to start off with...
But that's not what we're starting
That's how we never start off with the good stories. See, I knew I was going to have trouble finding shit. God damn it.
And now I feel like a grandma. Hold on, where are my glasses?
Yes, leaked documents. It's covered by the Gray Zone. Kit Clarenberg, always doing good work over there. Leaked documents have come out showing exactly how Reuters helps overthrow democracies. So that lovely outlet Reuters, which, by the way, most of you watching are probably smart enough to have abandoned the mainstream media, so I get that. But Reuters is one of those outlets, kind of like Guardian and a few others, that are viewed as a little better than your average mainstream media. Like, they're not CNN, it's Reuters. And so if you watch a show like John Oliver or something, most of what he's quoting from is usually Reuters or Guardian or something to try to kind of say, like, look, I got these from Reuters or Associated Press. And we're supposed to go,
that means it's true.
They got it from the real places. Amazing. So anyway, here's what Reuters does. Leaked documents reveal Reuters helped overthrow Egyptian democracy. This July 3rd marks the 10th anniversary of the Egyptian Army Chief General Abdel Fattah Sisi's violent seizure of power in Cairo. The first democratically elected leader in 5,000 years. That's a long time. That's really a while. First democratically elected leader in 5,000 years in Egyptian history, Mohamed Morsi was swept from office. His supporters were massacred by the hundreds, and he ultimately died in prison. With U.S. and U.K. support, Sisi quickly reversed any tentative democratic gains made during the country's brief, difficult transition from the rule of longtime Western-backed autocrat Hosni Mubarak. And of course, Egypt is a longtime U.S. ally. They generally support us as we, destroy various parts of the world, etc. Or they stand to the sidelines and go, well, it's okay. Let them do their thing. Let them be them. Let their freak flag fly.
That's another one that's really fucking
freak flag fly. You got to say it. Yeah, you got to say it slow. Otherwise, you end up saying words that are really
not okay.
Not okay.
Just a quick suggestion here. There is a brilliant book that talks about this overthrow of Morsi and the rise of Sisi to power and the people who were fighting against in the streets, Egyptian activists on the front line. It's called The City Always Wins, and it's fucking beautifully written. It is absolutely heartbreaking and gorgeous and powerful, and I absolutely recommend it to everyone. It's one of my actually favorite books.
The City Always Wins. And is it specifically just about Egypt, or it's about...
Yeah, no, it's just about Egypt. I think the whole thing actually just takes place in Cairo. So.
Gotcha. In the decade since Sisi's coup, his government has systematically crushed opposition to his rule, which the U.S. is totes cool with. Political parties and critical media have been banned en masse. Activists, journalists, and civil society actors harassed, disappeared, tortured, and jailed, and prisons transformed into hotbeds of systemic sexual violence and other horrific abuse. It is estimated that half of Egypt's 120,000 inmate population are currently incarcerated for political reasons, one of the highest rates in the world. So, yet again, as the U.S. claims to be opposed to political prisoners, A, we have plenty of our own, but B, we're in bed with plenty of governments that have loads of political prisoners, like loads.
What is it? The U.S. supports 75% of dictatorships around the world.
I believe it's only 70. Okay, let's not get hyperbolic here. No, yeah, there's 70% of world's dictatorships get some kind of aid from the United States. Leaked documents reviewed by the Gray Zone reveal that the media giant Reuters worked closely with the British Foreign Office to drive the fateful events of July 3rd, 2013, when democracy was crushed in Egypt. Egypt prepared for its first free parliamentary vote on October 2011. Thomson Reuters Foundation, the charitable, quote-unquote, arm of the Thomson Reuters global news conglomerate.
Which is the other thing. What the fuck is a news outlet doing with a charitable arm that just shows up and
helping things, doing the things that help?
Yeah. Anytime I see something that says like we're a charity, I'm immediately suspicious. But then if that charity is connected to a news outlet, I'm like, oh, so you fuck over people and then you write propaganda about it. Cool.
Right. Like who do you think CNN, if CNN had a charitable arm, what do you think it would?
Which I'm sure they fucking do. I'm sure they have charity balls and shit.
What do you think it does? Let's see. The arm of the established Aswat Masriya, I think I'm pronouncing that right, an ostensibly independent media outlet. So, of course, whereas I have barely ever heard of this outlet, it was very big for a time in Egypt. They developed this media outlet to cover Egyptian affairs very fairly, I am sure, and unbiased. Unbeknownst to the Egyptian public, the effort was wholly funded by the British Foreign Office, like literally funded by the British government through Reuters to create an outlet that got viewed in Egypt as very, accurate and informative, and it's there to push a coup against democracy. By the time Aswat Masriya closed, a staggering £2 million had been pumped into the initiative by London. Aswat Masriya became Egypt's leading independent local media organization until its closure. Its content was offered for free syndication across the region. So that's the other thing, is even though it only ended up in the top 500 of most visited sites in Egypt, you have to think about how the ripple effects. If that is the number one independent local media outlet in Egypt, and it's getting picked up by all these other outlets, then it's not just how many people go to their website. It's how many other places are using them as a legit source. British intelligence has established a long record of funding news outlets overseas for this precise purpose, including Reuters. And then they give an example from Ukraine. What? In late 2012, Morsi enacted a constitutional declaration under which he temporarily assumed sweeping executive powers, prompting small protests. But Aswat Masriya led the charge in condemning the decision, portraying it as a scheme by the president and the Muslim Brotherhood to gain total permanent control of Egypt. In reality, the declaration was scheduled to only last 3 weeks and had been enacted due to Cairo's powerful, heavily politicized judiciary. So just to wrap this up, though, in April 2013, Aswat Masriya granted the new movement against Morsi, demanding Morsi's removal. They granted that new movement blanket coverage, while contemporary polling indicated 53% of the public still supported Morsi. The outlet served as a nonstop megaphone for the opposition. By June 30th, military sources told Reuters that as many as 14 million people, 17% of the country's population, had come out to protest. But there was no proof that it was 14 million people. I mean, could you imagine what 14 million protesters would look like? So it was probably nowhere near that. And yet they spouted that number, and then that claim was picked up by many other organizations and outlets. And anyway, that's just a few examples of how they helped foment this this action to create a coup in Egypt and bring down the first democratically elected leader in 5,000 years. Thank you, Reuters. They're the best.
I have nothing to add.
Well, I'll just add that this, these leaked documents have shown us the proof that this stuff goes on. But even without these documents, we know that the US and the British are involved in these type of what are called like soft power movements to try and create coups, to bring down those who might be opposed to just being puppets to Western governments, specifically the US. And also the fact that that the U.S. is not involved in this at all, right? This is completely through Britain.
Yeah,
I assume there were conversations.
I'm sure they were in the loop on this.
I think there was a little discussion.
Yeah.
So you might not, in the leaked docs, you might not see U.S. involvement, but that doesn't mean the U.S. wasn't like, could you go over there and create a giant protest movement? Do your best to further it, and then we can help create the actual coup. So there you have it. Leaked docs showing the truth that, of course, for some odd reason, I don't think CNN nor probably Fox News are going to cover this.
Is Reuters going to cover it?
Yeah, Reuters has actually been doing wall-to-wall coverage on this. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the refugee protection travesty that is the Biden administration.
So I'm bringing in some new.
Everybody click thumbs up and follow.
Yeah. And comment and talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
If you're below the age of 30, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about or referencing, but that's fine. So I'm going to give you some backstory and then give you an update about this. But the asylum ban, which would the Biden administration, if you can believe it, I know it's hard to believe that Biden hates immigrants, but just hold on to your hats.
But wait, we put Biden into office to help immigrants and treat them better. Is that not?
Yes.
Is that not what's happening?
Yes. Well, he's given them better cages, so you now get a very thin blanket in your cage.
But can you like paint pictures of your family on the bars?
No, you don't get paint.
Crayons?
No. The problem is you don't get water.
Shadow puppets.
So how could you get watercolors?
Oh, no water, no watercolor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, they give them watercolor paints with no water just to fuck with them. They're like, yeah, have fun making those work.
So, the Biden asylum ban, right now I'm reading from a report by the organization Human Rights First, not to be confused with Human Rights Watch. Important. So the Biden asylum ban has stranded vulnerable people in places where they are targets of kidnapping and violent assaults. And in this report, there's some horrible stories, so I don't recommend reading it if you're not willing to read some very terrible stories. The Biden asylum ban renders nearly all asylum seekers who traveled through another country on their way to the U.S. southern border ineligible for asylum. And guess what? Unless you're taking a fucking direct flight, which a lot of asylum seekers are not, you traveled through a different fucking country to get to the U.S. That's how geography works. And that's, of course, how this ban is meant to work.
Well, also, I talked a little about it the other day about what he put in place, and it was like you had to apply via an app, right?
Yeah, so it's called the CBP One app, and it is just rife with fucking issues. And this is also assuming that people have a smartphone and they can download a goddamn app.
Well, that was my point. It was like most of the people showing up at the border desperate, often don't have water or food. Just truly desperate people are not sitting there like, well, I got the app and I just applied. We applied actually a week ago on our smartphone, and it says processing, but I don't like that is not the world in which they live.
No, and it's also complete bullshit because it acts as like a daily lottery, basically. So not only, and these are their words, glitchy and inequitable smartphone app.
I feel like glitchy and inequitable would be like description of Biden.
Touche. But
He's just sticking with brand. He's on brand.
Unfortunately, Biden, you can't just put in a new operating system. That shit is
No.
That shit was made glitchy.
No, you can't. Although Mitch McConnell had a glitch the other day.
Dude, this is really the best that the U.S. can do, folks.
Yep.
And Dianne Feinstein, did you see this? She had to be like told how to vote for the $880 billion Pentagon because she like was lost, didn't know where the fuck she was, and then people were basically like pushing her falling apart self,
just grabbing the dead arm and smashing it against the button.
Dude, this is our Congress. Anyway, so the Biden asylum ban, which by the way violates U.S. law and treaty obligations, has been used to rig the expedited removal process against people seeking asylum by converting what's called credible fear interviews, which were intended to ensure that refugees were not erroneously deported, as in, like, is there a credible fear to why you are seeking asylum?
What if you have a credible fear of those interviews?
Which you should, because they're fucking... what they say, these are sham screenings resulting in rapid deportation of people regardless of their eligibility for protection under U.S. law. Like the Trump administration's asylum transit ban, the Biden asylum ban has artificially driven down fear screening pass rates by unlawfully raising the standard created by Congress, with pass rates plummeting by 45%. For those barred by the asylum ban. So again, this is fucking with the numbers, just like, Trump was able to say, hey, fewer people are poor because he changed the definition of poverty. Now Biden can say, hey, fewer people are seeking asylum or getting asylum in the United States. So that's good. But it doesn't mean that that's actually what's happening at the border. In fact, it's gotten worse. And these folks have shared stories of, for instance, parents have told Human Rights First in several cases, they tie cable wires around their children at night for fear that while they sleep, the children will be abducted, abused, and potentially trafficked. That's what's happening at the border. And those are the people that the Biden administration say, you do not fucking deserve asylum. Turn your ass right back around and go back to the hellhole country that you came from, that we have summarily and will continue to destroy.
I mean, the countries aren't hellholes, but yeah.
I mean that the U.S. is making them hellholes.
We're doing
Not
all
that
we
they
can.
are hellholes.
We're doing all we can.
This is a shithole country. They are being forced to go back to countries that have been turned in either economically or through, actual, the U.S. support of cartels and things like that.
Or they specifically
have been turned into dangerous places where people can't fucking live anymore.
Or they feel specifically not safe for various reasons. But the other thing is, like, with this dumb app thing, which a judge has now struck down, they could just say, like, oh, it didn't go through, so we're not considering it because your app, like, there's no evidence. Like, the way it's supposed to work is you show up and you say, I'm here, and that's your application. Whereas if you had to apply on a phone, then they can go, oh, we never got it. Sorry. Like,
yeah. So yes, and thank you for pointing out. I didn't mean that these countries from which they are coming are actual hellholes. They're actually beautiful countries that are being destroyed by U.S. imperialism. So that's fucked.
But the New York Times will add a filter so it looks dark.
Oh my God, that's
and
so
grim.
true. We covered that.
We covered that.
Dude, that's fucked up.
The New York Times, fairness and accuracy, for those of you who didn't see it, fairness and accuracy in reporting showed that New York Times will, like, show Venezuela and add just a dim filter over it, so that you believe these places are just, like, dark and miserable.
And evil.
Because otherwise you'd take a photo even of protesters and it's like, it looks like kind of a nice place.
Well, and also it reminds me of the of Louis Black's bit about how, like, all the pictures that we get from North Korea are in black and white because they're so evil. These people don't even have color. Like,
so true.
Of course, you see, like, black and white photos and you're like, why is this, with the contrast turned all the way up? And you're like, So anyway, some good news with regards to this horrific fucking assault on human rights. A federal judge, this happened this past Tuesday, blocked this asylum ban, basically saying that this is actually kind of funny. He said, I read somewhere that 2023 was going to be a big year for sequels, but I would call this more of a remake. Because he was saying that this is basically like the Trump era transit ban, but you just gave it a different fucking name under a different administration. And so he blocked this rule. And the Biden administration has already moved to appeal the ruling. And this is, of course, like, as opposed to the Biden administration being like, right, yeah, no, that was a super fascist thing to do. We're not going to do that anymore. They're like, you know what, motherfucker? I've got some fascist shit to do, and now you're standing in the way, just like you stood in the way for Trump. But Trump and Biden are on the same side. God damn it! And so, like, of course, this is so good job, Judge John. Is it really Tiger?
John Tiger?
I mean, that's a cool. It's Tigar is his name. But if you pronounce it Tiger, that's pretty cool. Anyway, well done blocking this bullshit asylum ban. But we should absolutely keep our eyes open for what happens next, because the Biden administration is appealing. And even if this specific thing falls flat, it's not like they can't come up with something else that will absolutely affect the lives of refugees seeking asylum.
Yeah, and it goes to show how little difference there is between the two parties. So, meanwhile, CNN will tell you Biden's amazing and cares about immigrants, and MSNBC will say the same thing, and Fox News will. Biden, he allowed open borders. They're all open. They're way open. All the borders are open. And it's like, no, that's not it either.
Well, right. And this is, of course, Biden can point to this and be like, look, I made sure that a lot of people didn't get into the United States. And then both Democrats and Republicans are like, yay. Okay, so where's the opposite of that?
All right, so let's we're gonna move on to some more and exciting information about how there are new laborers in the United States under the age of 15.
12.
We found the labor we've been looking for in the kiddies. It's kiddie labor. It's something fun for them to do after school.
You know, because child labor laws are very last century, Lee. It's not hip and cool anymore to bar kids from working.
Right. It's because it's discriminatory to stop kids from working. They want to
ageist.
They want to shove their arms into the meat thresher just like anybody else. But before we get to that story real quick, my book is my new ebook is now available on most e-reader platforms. And it comes with a fan who cheers for it. Wee, wee. If I can find it. There it is. So this is at barnesandnoble.com. But just showed up there. My new ebook.
Get it, write
Dangerous
a review.
Ideas. Write a review
as
if you
long
get
as it's
it.
a good one.
Now, everybody who's a member at leecamp.locals.com should get one for free. So if you are a member and you haven't gotten one, then please email me or contact me because you deserve a free copy. For those of you who are not members at leecamp.locals.com, the book is now available on most e-reader platforms. If there's another e-reader platform that you prefer and it's not showing up there, give it a few days because it does take a few days to show up on these various platforms. So, all right, let's hear about some good old-fashioned tiny workers.
To be fair, I don't know how tall these kids are. So,
tall, tiny workers.
So the first story that we're bringing to you, go to the next slide. There you go.
That's how high tech we are. Instead of pushing a little button on a remote, I'm the remote. She just pokes me in the eye.
The first story comes to you from the Golden Arches. Child labor violations involving 388 minors at McDonald's uncovered since May.
And these are minors as in underage, not they're doing mining for McDonald's. They're not mining the beef.
No.
Okay.
What do we call that, mining? Okay. So So the first line of this article too, I really like, because it starts off by saying federal officials found more child labor violation at McDonald's. And I'm like, wait, more? What? How many were there before?
Including 2 10-year-olds.
Oh, wait, yes.
Who that runs a McDonald's is like, I'm sure we'll have no problem getting away with this.
But wait, it gets better.
But they had on fake mustaches.
Because the 10-year-olds were not paid. So it's not just child labor, it's child slavery. Because when somebody has to work and is not paid, they call that slavery.
How did they just find them walking by the place and they're like, you in here? Like, how does that end up happening?
It does not get into detail as to exactly how the fuck they ended up laboring. But it involved ages 14 and 15 predominantly, and some being forced to work as late as 2 a.m. cleaning up.
Because if you're going to have children working, do it at the middle of the night.
And then 3 employees under 16 were tasked with operating a deep fryer, which is prohibited under federal law because it's fucking dangerous.
So if any of you tasted a finger in your McNuggets,
that's a 16-year-old's finger, by the way. I'm just saying.
Well, that does mean to be a smaller finger in the McNuggets, so that's good.
That's not true. I have small hands, and I'm in my 30s. There are some 16-year-olds that have way bigger hands than me. So that's not necessarily true.
I was trying to look on the bright side here. If at least you'd be eating a tiny finger and you're ruining it.
So also operating a trash compactor. According to the Labor Department, these were the kids around the ages of 14 and 15 that were told to do this. And again,
side changes.
Sure.
What about this one? Oh,
that's the yeah.
You forgot to poke me in the eye.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It was the 10-year-olds. Okay, this gets better. 2 10-year-olds were found working without pay at a McDonald's in Louisville. That's called slavery. Where they prepared and served meals, worked the drive-thru, and sometimes worked as late as 2 a.m. 10-year-olds
worked the drive-thru. Weren't there occasionally someone in a car?
That's what I'm fucking thinking over here. I'm like, granted, I don't fucking go to McDonald's because it's fucking disgusting, but if I saw a 10-year-old working in a drive-thru, I'd be like, excuse me, I need to talk to a manager immediately. And don't give me this bullshit like some 10-year-olds look like they're older, because tops, they look like they're 13. So what the fuck? That's still not cool.
Maybe they had a fake mustache on. Fake unibrow?
Hey, well, you know, when I was 10, I had a unibrow. 10-year-olds can have unibrows, Lee. So yeah, that's McDonald's. So, and yes, somebody brought up a good point in the chat there that, let me open this again. Where is that? So, child labor laws in the United States are pretty fucking archaic to begin with, because they state that 14 and 15-year-olds can work, 15-year-olds can work, quote, no more than 3 hours on a school day and no more than 8 hours on a school day.
On a non-school day.
On a non-school day, which is already fucked up, I'd like to say.
Right.
Because if you force kids to go to school and then at 14, they can start working legally for 3 hours on that same day that they have to sit in school and learn bullshit like the Native Americans just decided to leave their land. That's fucked up.
What if their homework is to spray a cheese-like substance onto patties of some sort made out of cow anus? What if that's their homework? Then is it okay?
But this is the problem with our schools in this country too, because I bet you that one of these kids probably like wrote some essay or some shit about how they work at McDonald's, and the teacher was like, oh, isn't that nice? As opposed to, I'm sorry, what the fuck? So yes, child labor laws in this country are already shitty, and they're becoming more shitty because they continue to be basically destroyed so that kids can work younger and younger ages.
So this next article is that a 15-year-old was doing roofing.
Yeah. So, Florida, I know that's shocking. A Florida home repair company has been cited for child labor and safety violations after a 15-year-old worker suffered severe injuries in a fall from a roof.
Yeah, because why not have them do the most dangerous job?
They point out that the problem really here is that they failed to install, quote, a guardrail, safety net, or personal fall arrest system for employees doing roofing work. Okay, that might be a problem, but isn't the bigger problem that you had a fucking 15-year-old doing roofing?
One might say.
I have another one for y'all. A hotel in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which, by the way, is the best name for a town ever, employed...
What did the Pigeons Forge, though? Did they build something?
Obviously not a very safe town for kids. A hotel in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee employed 2 children under the age of 12, the Department of Labor found. The Comfort Inn Hotel is also known for paying people below minimum wage. That's shocking. So basically, they had also employed a 15-year-old to work in the kitchen, which was not allowed for their age group. Again, should not be allowed for them to work at all. But and it doesn't say what exactly these 12-year-olds were doing, but yeah, these are just some stories that I was able to find that are very recent.
I know these are just like a few of the, like, let's see, type in child labor into Google and see what comes up in the news.
Well, right. And I mean, I'm sure people could probably mention some in the chat that they've seen as well, but these are just some examples. And my other question here is a question about worker solidarity. Now, I get that a lot of these places are oppressive places to work, and you're afraid if you say anything, you might be fired. And this is maybe why we know about them, but call the Department of Labor anonymously and be like, there are fucking kids working here, and that's not okay. The other thing that I want to point out is that none of these articles are, of course, mentioning is like, why is this even a thing? Well, probably because the parents can't make ends meet. And so kids are being asked, or, in some cases forced to work. This is something that I've heard of personally from people in North Carolina where I used to live. They were like, yeah, well, I have to start working because we can't make rent, or my parents can't do, like, this is because wages for adults are so fucking horrific that people are being forced to work at younger and younger ages.
Well, not only wages for adults, but just the way the American system tears people apart, sucking money out of them at every turn. And sometimes it could be medical expenses, just like destroying savings, causing people to worry they're going to lose their apartment or lose their house. And so they become desperate. But all of this goes, the reason these stories are increasing in frequency is because this is the gravity of capitalism. It is to slowly deteriorate, erode worker protections that were fought for over many years. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. They lower the age, they make it, they destroy the unions, they destroy the maximum number of hours. They just slowly gutting all of the protections that had been won, hard fought over years and years. And that is the gravity of the system in which we live.
Amen.
All right, I wanted to get to a good news story. Speaking of unions, I wanted to give some. I did mention it the other day. I did, because it happened about an hour before I started live streaming. But I wanted to give some of the details of the contract that has just been won by UPS and the Teamsters. Give some of the details and the fact that this was won because without a strike, because of the power and the unity of the workers. Mm-hmm. So even before a strike, you have to show that you have power and unity and demands and all of those important things, organizing, in order for the strike to not happen. like in order to get what you wanted before the strike. So, and this is American Prospect, so I pretty much trust that they're giving a pretty accurate view of this. Whereas I know that sometimes a deal will be struck that's not a great deal, and then they try and run various mainstream media outlets will try and run around going, "What a great deal workers got!" And meanwhile,
they got one bathroom break.
They got a bathroom break, and they get a pot pie every Tuesday. Some 340,000 UPS Teamsters will see significant gains to pay and working conditions if they ratify a 5-year tentative agreement announced by the negotiating committee. Rank and file workers are poised to proceed with what would have been the largest strike at a single private sector employer in decades. And the resolve from the workers over the past several weeks was key to getting UPS to agree to the deal that meets their demands. The contract meets many of the key demands. All full and part-time employees will receive an immediate increase of $275 per hour and $750 per hour over the life of the contract. Union scale for part-timers can be as low as $15.50 per hour, but UPS bumps the hourly wage to upwards of $20 an hour in some areas. One of the bargaining priorities was locking in the higher rate, so UPS can't arbitrarily lower it. The contract sees an immediate floor for new part-timers of $21 an hour. Part-time Teamsters wanted $25 an hour, and most will get there through general wage increases amounting to $750 over the life of the deal. They also notched a big win through the creation of 7,500 full-time jobs. So just a lot of the key demands have been met, and Wall Street analysts were sounding alarms at the market disruptions that would be created by UPS's refusal to meet workers' demands could send the economy into a tailspin, which is basically Wall Street saying, oh, the workers have us by the balls. Like, that's what that is. That is Wall Street saying, oh, if they stick together and they actually do what it appears they're going to do, then we have no choice but to listen to what the workers want. And so often we are told, oh, workers can't get these things. Striking is dumb. You just got to take what you got. But as you can see, you get enough workers together, working together, agreeing to strike together, and it can grab Wall Street by the gonads and really change the equation.
But they're nuts in a salad shooter. And yeah, I see some people in the chat saying like, oh, that we didn't get this or they didn't get that. And I think that these are absolutely important points to highlight. And also I think that this is an important moment to also say, fuck yeah, they got a lot of the things that they wanted. And that this also gives a lot of leverage for the next time they come to the table, however long this contract is. The next time they sit down at the negotiating table, they know that they have, like, the UPS has their nuts in a salad shooter because what are you going to do? UPS is going to be responsible for tanking the economy. It's like this, and beyond UPS, this shows other people, the people who work on the choo-choos, they, I'm not saying, I'm not going to give
rail workers.
They can be inspired by this. Starbucks, Trader Joe's, like wherever the fuck you work. This can be a really powerful, inspiring moment, even if you don't have like, an organization like the Teamsters behind you. The one single power that we have that is the strongest is the ability to withhold our labor. And that shows this. Do you think if they just sent petitions to UPS, they would have fucking done anything? Like, yep.
Do you think if they just clicked a little thing online that said, I want better pay, it would have happened? Yeah, totally. No, and in terms of like, okay, well, they didn't get everything. And some people saying like, oh, they gave in too early. Maybe I kind of leave that to the workers. Now, it may appear democratic sometimes and not be, but I think in this case, if the workers of UPS didn't want this deal, they wouldn't vote for it. And at some point you gotta let them abide by democracy. Now, of course, I like to get into the multiple layers of reality, which is the first chapter of my new book, by the way. but the multiple layers of reality. And one of them is fuck wage slavery. This is a dumb way to set up society. It's a fucking stupid. Stupid. You're born and then you spend the rest of your life trying to rent back your weekends from corporate America. So there's that. But once if you put that aside for like a moment and you look at like, okay, well, unfortunately in this shitty, super shitty system, I have a job, then they got some things that will make that job a little better for them. So I hope they also got air conditioning in the fucking trucks.
Dude, fucking seriously.
All right, so we have a bunch of stories coming up still to go. We're going to continue at rumble.com/LeeCamp. Before it's free to watch there, by the way, and locals. It's not free on locals, but everybody watch the locals. It'll continue. All right, you know what I mean. But I wanted to say the Green Party has asked me to perform at their national event. Let's see, national meeting, I guess they call it. Maybe not
national meeting celebration.
National meeting celebration. It's a celebration of me. No, it's a celebration of a lot of things. But anyway, so the Green Party's asked me to perform. However, it is open to anybody who wants to come, I'm told. So if you want to see a 45-minute comedy performance by me of essentially all brand spanking brand new stuff, then
it's been a minute since anybody's seen your stand-up. Since
I've basically, and now it is Zoom. It is so it's not in-person stand-up, but it is stand-up. And you want to see my stand-up comedy, you can go to, here's the general Green Party website is gp.org, just gp.org. Glad they snagged that one early, gp.org. But here, I'm putting the link in the comment thread, and I assume you can find it by Googling GP August 5th, Green Party August 5th fundraiser. But yeah, I'll be performing 45 minutes, and there will be other stuff going on that Zoom event. But yeah, check it out. And I'll also tease this, that if that goes well and you guys like it and enjoy it, and it's a fun stand-up comedy event, I may do some of my own going forward. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But so yeah, you can just goyle. You can Google. You can just goyle. You know, Google was actually thinking of making their website goyle.com, but because they are Christian. But
I have so many things to say, but I'm not.
You can Google Green Party August 5th fundraiser.
Or you can just go to the link that you just put in the damn chat.
Well, some people are watching on different platforms. Anyway.
If you're listening,
you're
excused.
Eleanor will actually go easy on one group of select people. If there's any of you listening, you're not told to go fuck yourself. The others... someone's
you told him to Google like several different things, and I'm like, let's just fucking move it along. Just go to the link. God damn it.
You look like one of the drunk grandmas from Christmas Vacation on that one. Can we move it along with it? Maybe it's my drunk grandma I'm actually thinking of. I said, what? I'm trying to figure out why anyone's even here.
Oh, man, I'm so bummed I didn't get to hang out with your grandmother more. We were like kindred spirits for reals.
What the hell is anybody talking about? So anyway.
I'm stone cold sober, by the way.
Someone asked, last thing about this before we move on. Someone asked what date it is. August 5th. It's August 5th. And I believe it's 8. I believe the whole thing starts at like 8 p.m. Eastern, but I don't think I perform until 9 or something. Anyway, you'll figure it out. Okay, everybody, rumble.com/LeeCamp. Let's keep moving because Eleanor's getting surly. That's what keeps this show on the rails. Eleanor starts looking at her watch. She's tapping her toe.